Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Dear Dietitian, where you ask questions and we answer them. So this week we have a bunch that are emailed to us, which is cool. We're getting more people through the website and via email. So we'll start off with number one. It's a long one. Okay.
Do you read it all?
No.
Okay.
So basically what they're trying to say here is they've been approached by a personal trainer who wants to create ready-made foods similar to other brands like U-Foods, Gym Food Australia, whatever else, 5.4, blah, blah, blah. So a PT is looking to do that. Hit her up to do a nutritional breakdown of the foods for them to sell. They're going to pay them a certain amount of money for this, but then they're going to use that ongoing. She asks questions around whether or not they're going to have dietitian approved on it and things of that nature. And basically, she was worried about the legal obligations. She's not quite sure whether she fully understands that and what happens if something dodgy happens with the foods or that type of thing. So she just asked for my input.
What was your input, Tyson? I'd be interested to hear what you said to this.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, you're not being facetious.
Maybe.
So you are being facetious. All right, great.
No, I really don't know a lot about it either. So.
All right, so basically how I look at that is I am risk averse when it comes, or not risk averse, but basically wanted to really ensure that obligations are followed. So I would say there needs to be some kind of contract as to how that information is going to be used. Because for me, if you're doing nutrition analysis, they're going to have to give you a recipe for you to then nutritionally analyze. If someone's doing this from a home kitchen, that recipe could change every single day. You don't know, you don't have any control over it, and how are you going to control that? Can they change the recipe without telling you, still using nutritional information? Maybe you put your name on it, maybe you put dietitian approved. Are you okay with that?
It's a big issue going to actually
how are they
issue a
gonna,
business name.
Yeah. How are you going to portion it out? Like if they portioned out the food, how do you know that all the portions are exactly the same? If they're in a big factory warehouse, that becomes easier because they've got a contract with their supplier and the person who's actually making a manufacturer. But if you're doing it in a local home kitchen, whatever, then it becomes a bit of a grey game. And I'm not entirely comfortable with that from a personal aspect, but in terms of protecting yourself, I think it's making sure you have those discussions and then put a contract in place, even if it's something really simple, but something that will protect you and remove all liability from you. And when you give the nutritional analysis, actually have a caveat in there about this is based on recipe information given, attached, make sure it's all PDF'd, make sure that it's all one document, have both parties sign that, so then at least you've got evidence of what was actually given, what date, and based on what information. So then that way, if a year, 2 years, 5 years down the track, something dodgy happens, you go, no, I only did it with this. This is the contract we had. This is the analysis I did not do that. And then I'd also put stuff in the contract about you cannot use my personal name, or they have to use your name depending on how you want to do it.
Yeah,
depending on how you want to do it. And that'll all depend on the contract, what the personal trainer or whoever else is doing these meals wants. We looked into it before. Things got close to an agreement and that didn't really happen. But yeah, there's a lot of issues with it. So it's something to be really careful of. I'm trying to read what else I said.
Old me would have been like, oh yeah, sweet, just do it. Now I'm like,
yeah, exactly. Like when I read this,
like Tyson's brain going,
yeah. So
it's like a rolling shit here, rolling downhill.
Yeah, and then what else did I say? All I said was pretty much what that was. Do not accept any liability for inaccuracy of the software, recipe development, portion sizes of meal changes, blah, blah, blah. You just want to be as protected as you possibly can, and that $400 might look good, or $1,000 or $5,000. But in the end, if something goes bad, it could be $1 million that you get hit up for if someone sues you. So,
but good for you for getting asked.
Yeah, no, like awesome opportunity, but I think it needs to be real measured approach rather than like, oh, it's such a good opportunity, I want to do it. It's just like, yeah, but what's the downside? Like, you can do a nutrition analysis on recipes right now in your own home. You don't have to do it for them in terms of that. In terms of getting your name out there, it could be good or it could just ruin your career. Boom. This one. All right, let's go a different one. So they read my post on dietitians, perfectionism, and mental health, and they wanted to say thank you for sharing. Thank you for reading. Found our videos extremely helpful. Which is also nice.
Are you including me now this time?
I'm including her now.
Yeah, right. Again.
New grad, 8 months out. Private practice role where they're a sole practicing dietitian, but they're working with other allied health. So there's mostly exercise physiologists. She's currently working in a few clinics, a private hospital, and several nursing homes. And they're feeling very overwhelmed and feel like quitting. And they do have a mental health.
Or in general?
Everything.
Okay, that's a shame.
Yeah, and it does have a mental health condition. And at the end of my post, I say a call to action to tell your employer how they can support you. And then they wanted to ask me how. How should they tell their employer? And they don't want it to be a sign of weakness or look for an excuse for not working effectively. So heavy question. So what do you think? I did, but I'm going to leave it to you to answer this first.
Why me?
What would you, so if you had a
We all know that I'm the most, approachable human.
So, if you had a practitioner that,
yeah,
what would you kind of say?
I'd probably get her to be more specific around why she's feeling overwhelmed and what specifically she is feeling overwhelmed with. And if there's anything in particular that I can actually do if I was her manager to make that better.
How can she tell? You're talking about what you, but like with her, how can she tell her employer?
Just tell me. Like, I don't care in what way, shape or form it happens. Just tell me if it has to be written, because she might have a breakdown and she might start crying in front of me if she doesn't want that to happen, because that's embarrassing maybe for her. I don't know. Wouldn't bother me. It really depends on the recipient.
You wouldn't be bothered with like coming into your boss's office and then breaking down?
No. Oh, me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no, I'd do that. I don't care. But somebody else would, because I'm not a perfectionist, but most other dietitians are. So, yeah.
Give some advice.
Around wives in particular.
How can she tell her employer?
So I would write it. I'd write it down and maybe give her a letter. I would write her an email. Whatever way, shape or form that you need to get it out, you have to tell them. If it's in person, if you've got a good relationship with them, feel free to do so. I know at stages if I've been overwhelmed or upset or angry, it ends up just going downhill from there and I'll just start crying and that's wasteful. So I believe that old me probably would have benefit from writing things down. And then if they want to talk to you afterwards about that, absolutely fine, I'd probably do that. So yeah, one, you just actually need to tell them in whatever way you actually do tell them. I don't think it's going to be an issue at the end of the time. At the end of the day, it's going to be the same objective, which is letting them know you're feeling overwhelmed. You
don't think it could ever be an issue?
Well, it clearly is.
No, the employer. You're getting mixed up.
No.
You don't think the employer will ever think that's an issue?
Them being overwhelmed?
Yes.
Well, if they
I call bullshit on that.
Yeah, well, if they are, then what do you do?
What do you mean? If the employer is? What do you mean?
If they think it's an issue?
Yeah, well, then she's afraid probably to lose her job.
But she's going to quit a job anyway, right?
So I'm trying to lead your questions here. So basically, rather than Peta being a cutting human,
I am not. Just because you're all soft and warm and cushy, let's sit on this couch and talk about this. In reality, yeah, absolutely. And potentially someone could just say, well, there you go, you can't cope, you're gone type stitch. But
Yeah, so they could.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
No, so how could they tell? It would just be like, yeah, like the writing thing. I probably would never have thought of that. I wouldn't think to write it because I feel like as an employer, they could receive it and just go, what the fuck is this? And they could dismiss it. If you're going to write it, I would definitely have something in it. Like, I want to talk to you about it in person post they reading the letter. And that actually say in the letter about why you chose to write it rather than talk to them. But
I think having it written though also gives you some solid evidence that you've tried to express your discontent or your concerns or identify with that, because obviously things that you say in person is not going to be a recorded conversation or something you've got on paper.
you can record it.
Yeah, I know, but I wouldn't have thought to do that. Nah.
So my advice would be, first of all, it's identifying, like Peter said, why you're actually feeling overwhelmed and what you actually want to get out of telling them. So you telling them, do you want more support from them? Do you want your workload to decrease? Do you want another dietitian hired by the company to take half your workload and you drop down in hours? Figure out what you actually want from it, because at the end of the day, the employer will want to move forward, regardless of if they're a douche or not. They will want to move forward in some way. So if your outcome is you just want to tell them so they know, sweet, let them know that. If you want to tell them because you cannot cope with that amount of workload, you need to decrease it, you got to tell them that. But know that you're likely going to take a pay cut or decrease your hours to allow the employer to actually still fulfill the role that they need to fill.
Because most bosses want a solution to a problem. So
Yes.
if you come in and just put the bottom on the board and you've not actually even thought about the solutions or even come up with ideas that don't have to be definitive, that at least helps.
And this is very personal. So it's not something that the employer can then just impose something on you around it, because that might worsen the situation or not alleviate it. So you need to be really aware around what you're actually feeling, why you're feeling it, what you feel will change it, and then really communicate around that. In terms of how you do it, I emailed back to this and said to ask if you can talk to them in private at some stage. So whether that be after work, in a lighter social setting, or you do it at work in a formalized setting, you have to tell them, because the other end of the coin is you don't, and then you break and burn out.
Or you underperform, and then that completely ruins your perfectionistic traits, or that's the reason why it's burning on it. I know, but you can guarantee that that's part of it as well too, is because she's not performing to what she thinks she should be, potentially.
Or there's just too much work.
Yeah. But then same thing, too much work, but why aren't I able to get all that work done? Blah, blah, blah.
But are they able to get the work done? Yeah, but see, this is the thing. Like, I don't think we need to make an assumption that they're perfectionists. But
open-ended. It was in relation to that post, so I'm just making an assumption. So just putting my last word in.
I know.
It's a hard one, absolutely hard one. And each situation is going to be different. I think if you had myself or Tyson as the boss, wouldn't even bother us and be like, okay, righto, how can we fix it?
Yeah, what do we need to do?
Yeah.
How can we help?
Do you need to take time off? Do you need to work less?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Just depends.
Need time to go see someone.
So if you know your boss, then act accordingly.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like Peter said it in an interesting way earlier, but at the end of the day, it's like you either say it, and if they don't like you anymore and they fire you, there's no worse than what it's going to be if you stay and you want to quit anyway. And it could actually get worse, because you probably won't want to quit because you don't want to lose that job, because jobs are hard to get, and then you could burn out, break yourself, and then may not be able to work for a long time again. And that's happened to people, and people that I know that burn themselves out way too quick and then really struggle to get back into work at any level, at any capacity for many years. So there are worse things than actually saying it, but it's figuring out what you actually want to achieve from saying it. Cool.
So should we talk about saturated fat and heart disease in relation to diet disease implications?
Okay.
And if we should be putting a huge focus
Calories
on
versus
calories, whilst it's important focus for weight loss, if you're dealing with a range of clients, should we be promoting health rather than a fear of calories, even though that's not what I said, but
it depends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ultimately, like it
I
depends on
responded,
you.
but anyway, I'll see what you have to say. No, I won't respond.
All right, so my response to, should we be talking about diet-disease relationships basically and the implications? So I'm assuming, all right, you've got diabetes, you're going to lose some feet. Like that kind of
I think it's more around like carbohydrates and diabetes and saturated fat and heart disease and things like that. So there's really kind of like clear-cut diet disease relationships type of thing.
Yeah, is saturated fat that clear cut anymore?
I know, well this is the issue.
So should we be doing it? I would say to some level, yes, we should. I think there is particular research around certain different things that you should help justify your explanation or your recommendations. Otherwise they may not understand, but it depends on what level you're going to go into it and what your client is at the end of the day. So if that client is just like, just tell me what to do, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe you glaze over it a little bit and go, look, this is the perfect plan or recommendations because it's going to decrease your saturated fat and that's going to have a positive impact on your cholesterol, so we can try and avoid your heart attack again. All right, sweet. Versus saturated fat does this in the blood vessels, which then does this and then does this, and that can cause a stroke at some stage. Like that becomes a different conversation. I think through uni we're often taught to do, you got to do a diet-disease relationship every time you see someone and all of that, but I call bullshit on that. I don't know if Peta does, but I don't think you need to do it to the nth level each time. And then the second part of that, should we talk about calories or we talk about health? Just like it all depends. I don't talk about calories, I talk about kilojoules and energy, and I talk about weight 100%. But yeah, I think it's all down to that client-centered approach and helping them achieve their goals. And however you do that, it doesn't really matter. If someone wants to talk more about health, if you feel like they're being too obsessed with weight and the numbers and you want to avoid them from doing that, and you think that talking about health and non-diet and that kind of stuff is going to be helpful, then sure, do that. But I don't think you can go, all right, only do this and only do that every single time, whether it be diabetes relationships or calories, weight.
Yeah, and exactly what you said. I suppose there's issues in assuming that it's in one nutrient focus as well. So what I said to her is it's talking about food and food patterns. And yes, most people would have an understanding of fat and saturated fat, but there's no clinical clear-cut justification that, well, we don't eat saturated fat 100%. Like even as saturated fat comes in foods, it's mixed with other things. And so it's, from my perspective, it's just taking a step back and going, okay, right, well, that's what it is. Do we need to actually talk about it? Maybe we can make a general assumption, but we should just be advocating for food and changes to those dietary patterns versus specifically focusing on nutrients. The same applies with calories. You can do that backhandedly, simple. So as we promote health, we promote foods which are naturally lower in calories or kilojoules. And so in doing so, we are already focusing on calories, but we do not need to obviously discuss that, bring it up, talk about it, blah, blah, blah. We're promoting health in lots of different ways. If you have a particular client that comes in and they're talking about calories already, then you can obviously assume that they've got some sort of understanding about needing to reduce them down. The other issue is that people think they know, but they actually don't know. So they think they might be consuming 1,200 calories, or I'll put in, my nutrition data calculation and I'm getting 1,200 calories, and they're actually not, because we know that our estimations and what we think we eat versus what we actually eat are inaccurate. The other issues with that is that the actual absorption is going to be completely different. So yes, if we talk about calories, absolutely fine, but nobody actually knows to the nth degree what that actually is. So if you do exactly what I say and you just focus on improving their diet, making them choose healthy food choices which are promoting health, then you will naturally fix and lower those calorie excesses, as well as reducing saturated fat and blood sugars and all that stuff. So I kind of feel like by doing what we do, we're fixing all those issues. If you want to talk about nutrients, if you want to talk about calories, feel free to do so, but pick your clients obviously in the situations.
So many clients come in and go, oh, I should be eating this many calories, right? So look, I don't really care about that. Just tell me what you're eating now and I'm going to improve it and then help you lose the weight that you want. Like the whole indirectly talking about it, by just improving the diet and getting the results, like then you don't actually have to focus on this is only 500 kilojoules, so this is why you should eat this versus 1200 kilojoule.
The only time I use that is just justification as to why, one, they're gaining weight, two, they're not losing weight, blah, blah, blah. And that would not be generally in that
Call
first...
on that shit.
Yeah, consult. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I'm eating all this good food. It's like, yeah, but your acai bowl is 3,000 kilojoules. Oh, but it's like fruit. It's really good, right? It's like, yeah, but you shouldn't have 12 serves in one sitting.
You love those acai bowls, right? But the worst part is, and the reason why we go to uni is because we're absolutely interested in food. I can guarantee you, unfortunately, the conversations that you want to have, you're not going to have. So you want to go into the in-depth nature of why this happens and blah, 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 and it's also interesting, but when you're talking to a client, you rarely get to that level. Rarely. I reckon I probably had maybe 20 consults.
I think it's slightly different. I think it'll look a different way. Like, I think a lot of people get into dietetics thinking that's a lot of what we end up doing, but they get through uni, they learn all this medical nutrition therapy and all the definitive things and nutritional biochemistry and how things absorb and stuff, and we want to tell that knowledge to someone, but at the end of the day, all you really need to do is use your knowledge just to change their foods. Yeah. And then go back to what you initially probably wanted to do when you got into dietetics. Like, I want to help people improve their health through food. You can do that without having to say all the shit in the middle. That's good for your knowledge so that you can actually apply it, but you don't have to teach them that nutritional biochemical absorption pathway of vitamin C. I don't know, I just started talking through it out there, but like it's...
Yeah, well, I certainly enjoy that aspect of it, and the talking to clients part, unfortunately, sometimes I get my head like banging against a wall because I'm like, God damn it, I wish I could tell you more, but it doesn't mean a lot to them. It's really hard to go backwards like that. So if you are feeling frustrated because you're not having those really good conversations, go and talk to other dietitians or other people in practice, or debate with other people in the health profession that actually have some awareness of those things, and that's what gets my juices going. I love that.
You do get to knowledge drop at times though. There's certain things where they'll say something and then you just go boom and then go, holy crap, that Today's Night program was wrong. it's like yep.
Yeah.
So I think
you just got to choose your people.
Yeah, but there is no right answer there. It's just like, no, you don't have to, and yes, you could.
Yeah, and I got fantastic. That's a great way to explain it. So it doesn't.
Hopefully, we even improved on it.
Yes, that's right. I'm sure we did with your add-on.
Team.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Final question. Okay, I'm in love with your website.
Oh.
Please keep it going. Thank you.
Just, I'm in love with you. That would have been a great one.
I am single.
Snap that to me.
I am an APD, recent grad. Just wanted to say I wish I read this a few years ago and studied physio instead. So obviously they read my Why You Should Quit Your Nutrition degree.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
Jokes aside, I have an observation that hardly any, brackets, basically no, dietitians work full time, i.e. 40 hours paid work at the same location in private practice. Is this your observations as well? And if not, what is the key to establishing FTE clinic besides giving free lunches to GPs?
That's not even a guarantee.
Definitely not a guarantee. So, okay, two-part question really. So is it our observations as well that people work 40 hours in one clinic location?
Yeah, no way.
I don't know a single person. I'm not saying they're not out there. I think they'd be rare as fuck.
Even a sort of unit?
But private practice.
Oh, no.
No. You can do 40 hours as a hospital dietitian in this sort of clinic, outpatient, government organisation. Yeah. But in a private practice in one location, very, very unlikely, at least across 2 or 3 admin, really.
And then on top of that dietitian, probably most dietitians would have other things in their basket that they're doing on top of. It might be, they might have an aged care.
And look, you're not going to sustain a 40-hour week if you're not marketing. Like, if you're in 40 hours in private practice, like, holy shit, I want to meet you. And if you're not doing a single answer marketing,
hit us up if you are.
And if you're doing that, like, call us on our shit, and then we'll probably invite you on, tell us your secrets. But, no. So what you do to establish an FTE clinic, you're not going to be able to establish an FTE 40-hour clinic in one location. I just don't think it's really possible unless it's a very specialised thing. You've got amazing contacts and then you've got no competitors. The issue with getting FTE nowadays is, or forever, there's competition. And now it's getting more saturated than ever. So if you want that in one location, it's likely that you've got another medical centre nearby that was referring to you, and then all of a sudden that medical centre's got a dietitian. Now your referral base is stopped because that GP wants their 20% from that, or 30% or 40% from that dietitian is working in their clinic, not from giving it to you and getting no kickback. So very difficult. How can you do it? We've talked about a lot. Marketing, being good, getting client results. Social media is massive. GP marketing, unfortunately, you're going to have to do free lunches. Like that's
managing no shows.
Yeah, and
procedures.
Charging up the arse for some clients could be a strategy. You could just charge a lot more and see fewer clients and get full-time money for less hours. But then you've got to find the people that actually do that. Or you do bulk bill and you try and fill it that way. But neither way is going to be foolproof, and it's not going to be, we've talked about actually this week about lulls in private practice. They happen, and there's certain times throughout the year that they do happen, and in different locations they'll happen at different times. Like Melbourne, it's shit in winter because everyone leaves because it's cold as hell, so they want to go somewhere else. Like here, like we get a lull around July, August, September. That's with care plans and things of that nature. When no school holidays are. So I think it just all depends. But how can you do it? Like there's
as
no
well as
right,
that with FTE
right
in a private practice, there's going to be so much unpaid work because of all of the letters and admin stuff that you'd have to do and the like. So
imagine how many GP letters you'd have to do if you're working 5 days a week.
God, kill me. And as well as that,
because you've got to be seeing at least 12 to 15 clients a day. At least.
The other aspect
to make it worthwhile.
A burnout of that bullshit. Bloody hell, I'd be death on two legs if I was.
I did that pretty much.
Practice.
Yeah, especially in the same location, in the same room every single day. I think some people get a bit weird about being in different locations. Like, I just wish I was in one. But then if you're just in one, holy shit. Talk about, what do they call it? Cabin fever. Like, you'd just be...
No, I get cabin fever sitting in the room for like a full day. Give me some sun. I used to like have windows in my clinics, like peer out. I'm like, what's the day like?
So sorry that couldn't be like this world-renowned thing. It is a grind. It is a constant work and constant effort.
And me, you, and other dietitians that we know that are amazing private practice dietitians, they do not work that position.
And they still struggle.
Yeah.
We all do. Like, we all do. So it's a constant thing. It's not something you're going to be comfortable with and you're going to be able to just kick back and relax. You've got to work at it every single day. That's the life you've chosen.
Yeah, like I've got 3 or 4 people on waiting list for my next clinic. I can guarantee that people are going to cancel and then I'll end up with gaps in my day, even though it ends up being like super busy and then you're like, oh, but there you go. It's just like, it happens.
You got to ride it. But that's why getting into dietetics isn't for the money. If you're doing it for the money, go be a lawyer or an accountant or something else that makes money.
An influencer on Instagram.
Oh yeah, that is where you make some dough.
Yeah, that's right. Promo code. Insert dietitian1 for your promo code.
Promo code. Get free access to our website.
Yeah.
Oh shit, you've already got free access. Okay. All right, cool guys. Again, dietitian. There's a lifers group, so facebook.com/life dietitian lifers. I don't know. Anyway, just search lifers in Facebook.
You don't know that is.
Well, the URL is, I think it's like /groups/dietitian lifers, but I don't know the exact URL. So instead, just search it, lifers, find us, join. We just hit up heaps of different work experience there. Again, we'll be posting jobs before the end of the year for you guys that are graduating. So we'll probably do pre-interviews prior to graduation. So check it.